Under Skip Holtz and Ruffin McNeill, the East Carolina Pirates football program was one of the best Group of 5 programs, consistently beating North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia Tech, although they had a much smaller budget and came from a much smaller conference. But incompetence by the administration would lead to the downfall of the once great football program and financial issues for the athletic department overall. Although they had a rough 2-10 season last year, under Mike Houston, the Pirates have returned to bowl games in 2 of the last 3 years and are projected to finish towards the top of the American this season. This is the rise, fall, and revival of East Carolina football. But before we get into this, if you enjoy college football content like this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also, let me know who you want me to talk about next in the comment section below. When John Thompson took over as head coach, the program was coming off a decade of mediocrity under head coach Steve Logan. Logan had gone 69-58 at East Carolina, leading them to 5 bowl games where they would go 2-5. This was coming off a lot of excitement, where Bill Lewis had led the Pirates to an 11-1 record and a win in the Peach Bowl and a top 10 ranking. So the Logan era was extremely disappointing. The Thompson era would not be successful in any sort of way, as they would go 1-11 in his first season and 2-9 in his second season, leading to his departure from the program with a 30-20 record. The Pirates had gone from being a top 10 team in 1991 as an independent to the bottom of the Conference USA at the conclusion of the 2004 season. The program was in a bad place and needed to hit on their next hire, and hit they would. The man chosen to replace Thompson would be son of legendary Notre Dame head football coach Lou Holtz, Skip Holtz. I've talked about Holtz's backstory a few times on this channel in the past, but Holtz was coming off a successful run at UConn from 1994 to 1998, leading them to the Division I AA playoff quarterfinals in his last season, finishing with a record of 34-23. He would then join his father at South Carolina, serving as an assistant before taking the ECU job. During his opening press conference, he said, "I promise you, you'll have every ounce of energy, soul, and life that I have in order to put into the program back where it belongs, and that's at championship level." Holtz received a 5-year contract that paid him $150,000 a year, and he expected the team to compete for a bowl game almost immediately. Holtz was chosen over former Clemson coach Danny Ford, and Ford was basically given the job and had been in the preliminary stages of assembling a staff until the ECU board of directors rejected the hire due to his association with NCAA sanctions placed on Clemson back in the day. In his first recruiting class, he brought in Audrey Allison and won his first game as head coach when they beat Duke 24-21. It was the Pirates' first non-conference Division I win for the first time since 2000. They finished the 2005 season 5-6 and just missed out on bowl eligibility, but there were more wins in year 1 under Holtz than the previous 2 years combined under Thompson. In 2006, Holtz would lead the Pirates to wins over NC State en route to a 7-5 regular season record and a spot in the Papa John's.com Bowl, where they would lose to South Florida 24-7. 2006 saw East Carolina improve for a 3rd year in a row, beating North Carolina en route to a spot in the Hawaii Bowl, where they would beat number 24 Boise State 41-38 to finish the season 8-5. It was the first time since 1999 and 2000 that ECU went to back-to-back bowl games. Things would continue to improve for ECU in 2008 as they opened up the season with upset wins over number 17 Virginia Tech and number 8 West Virginia, becoming the first team in Conference USA history to win 3 straight games over ranked teams. They would win their first East Division title and won their first Conference USA title ever and their first conference title overall since 1976. They would eventually lose to Kentucky in the Liberty Bowl 25-19 to finish the year 9-5. In 2009, ECU would once again go 9-5, winning their second straight conference title, but once again lost to Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl 20-7. It was the first time in school history that the Pirates were able to play in 4 straight bowl games. Holtz had successfully rebuilt the Pirates program and delivered on every promise he made in his opening press conference. Following the season, Holtz would leave ECU to take the South Florida job, leaving a what-if situation had he stayed for both himself and fans, as he would struggle at USF. Holtz would finish his Pirates career with a 38-27 record, but would go 16-21 in 3 seasons at USF. Holtz would discuss his departure from ECU back in 2022, saying, "Anytime any of us get a time to go back and look, hindsight is 20/20 when you get an opportunity to see it. I made the decision I did at the time to have the opportunity to be around my mom and dad. My mom passed away a year and a half ago at this point, and to have an opportunity to spend some time around her, and my brother being in Daytona Beach and my wife being from Port Charlotte, it was a big family decision at the time. The thing I regret the most there, as I look back, is what we built there in Greenville, and walking away from it. People like Terry Holland and the relationships I had with Terry and Ann, and to have the opportunity to work with a man with the integrity and the class he had, I think, yeah, I wouldn't have left from a career standpoint when you look backwards. But I know why I left, and I look at the time I got to spend with my parents. The reason I left was not football related. They were family related. Those are memories I can't take back. Holtz had made Pirates football exciting again, and had turned Dowdy Ficklin Stadium into one of the toughest places to play in the Conference USA. The man chosen to replace Holtz would be former defensive back and assistant coach Ruffin McNeill. McNeill was a 4-year letterman in the late 70s and spent 10 years coaching at Texas Tech under Mike Leach, serving as his defensive coordinator in 2008 and 2009 after moving up the ranks. He made it clear that this job was a dream job for him and not just some stepping stone for him. He served as the interim head coach at Texas Tech for their bowl win over Michigan State in the Alamo Bowl. Seen as a father figure by those within the program, McNeill was credited with promoting a family-type atmosphere while at the same time providing disciplined instruction on the field. The program would take a step back in 2010, going 6-7 and making it to the Liberty Bowl to extend their bowl streak to 5 straight bowl games. The struggles would continue in 2011 as they would miss their first bowl game since Skip Holtz's first season, but rebounded, winning the Conference USA East Division title in 2012 as they would finish the year 8-5 and lost in the New Orleans Bowl. 2013 would end up being one of the best seasons in school history as they would finish the year 10-3, their first double-digit winning season since 1991 under Bill Lewis. It was the second most wins in a season for the program throughout their history that dated back to 1932. It would beat North Carolina and NC State and went on to beat Ohio in the Beef O'Brady Bowl. The Pirates would start the 2014 season 6-1, with their lone loss at the time coming against South Carolina on the road 33-23. Heading into the Temple game, they would be ranked 21st in the nation and seemed in line to play in a major bowl game as the highest ranked Group of 5 team, who received an automatic bid to either the Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, or Peach Bowl. They would collapse against Temple, finding themselves down 20-3 heading into the final 2 minutes of the game, where they scored to make it 20-10. They followed that up with a loss to Cincinnati 54-46, basically eliminating them from major bowl game contention. They proceeded to finish the rest of the season going 2-2, including a loss to Florida in the Birmingham Bowl 28-20 to finish the year 8-5. A disappointing end to such a promising season in what would be the Pirates' first year as a member of the American Athletic Conference. After a disappointing 5-7 season, McNeill would be relieved of his duties in a controversial move that left a lot of fans angry. The decision was centered around the fact that McNeill refused to make changes to his coaching staff following a disappointing season according to SB Nation. Ruffin McNeill finished with a 42-34 record in 6 years. During the 2015 season, ECU had lost their offense coordinator Lincoln Riley to Oklahoma, expected starting quarterback Kurt Benkirk to a season-ending knee injury, and wide receiver Justin Hardy to the NFL draft. They also played an extremely tough non-conference schedule with their third-string quarterback for most of the season, with games against BYU, who finished the season 9-3, and Florida while beating Virginia Tech. In Matt Brown's piece, ECU fired Ruffin McNeill. "What the hell are you thinking, Pirates?" From 2015, he wrote, "So, ECU let go of a coach who dunked on local power conference rivals, had ties to the university, was loved by nearly everybody, and won a lot of football games. All because he had one bad season and didn't win the conference yet? What the hell are the Pirates thinking? They dumped a head coach who probably turned down bigger jobs to stay at ECU because he loved the school, because the school thought they could upgrade the program with a different head coach. This destroyed the relationship between McNeill and ECU that took years to fix. In 2019, the coaching staff under Mike Houston began to rebuild a relationship. Houston wanted the school to honor McNeill. McNeill would return to ECU as a member of the NC State coaching staff in 2022. Both David Doran and Lincoln Riley credit McNeill as their mentor, and both believe had it not been for Ruffin, they would not have found the success they have achieved. McNeill spent 3 years at Oklahoma serving as Riley's defensive coordinator, where they made 3 straight playoff appearances before he joined Doran's staff at NC State because he needed to be closer to home to take care of his father. Linebacker Drake Thomas said his hire was probably one of the best decisions that Coach Doran made. Just having someone like that, as good a person as he is, it can do nothing but help and uplift others. He was inducted into ECU's Hall of Fame in 2021. Jeff Confer, someone I will talk about in a little more detail in a little bit, was the incompetent AD who wanted to make his own hire for head coach and was the reason the relationship with McNeill was destroyed. Sneak peek to later in the video, Confer would run the athletic department as a whole into the ground. The man chosen to replace McNeill and was Confer's upgrade, quote unquote upgrade, would be Scotty Montgomery, Duke's offensive coordinator at the time. The upgrade would be a disaster comparable to the John Thompson era at ECU. After a decade of success where ECU went to 8 bowl games from 2006 to 2015, they would have 3 straight seasons of 3-9 play, where they would also see the financial crisis become a disaster at the university. Montgomery would finish his ECU career going 9-26 and went 4-20 in AAC play. Mike Houston would replace Scotty Montgomery after a disastrous 3 seasons. Houston is originally from Mars Hill, North Carolina, and spent over 30 years coaching in North and South Carolina. He led Lenore Ryan to a 29-8 record into the Division II National Championship game in 2013. He then rebuilt the Citadel, leading them to a 9-4 record in the second round of the FCS playoffs, going 14-11 in 2 seasons. In 2016, he took the James Madison head coaching job, led them to the national title game that year, and followed that up with an appearance in the national title game in 2017. Houston led the Dukes to a 37-6 record and 2 national title game appearances, with 1 win in 3 years. Many hoped when Houston was hired that he would lead the Pirates to the same type of turnaround he had achieved in his previous 3 destinations. Things would start off slow for East Carolina, going 4-8 in the first season in 2019. The uphill battle back to relevancy would be even tougher when the world would shut down before the start of the 2020 season. ECU's athletic department was a mess during this period, having to cut men's tennis, women's tennis, and men's swimming and diving and women's swimming and diving programs to save money at the time. The men's swimming and diving team was the first team ever in ECU history to win a national championship in 1957. In total, 68 student athletes and 9 coaches saw their Pirates' careers end just like that during one of the toughest periods the world has seen in a while. ECU would drop down to the minimum amount of sporting programs to stay at the Division I level at 16. The school announced it would limit the summer school for their student athletes to save money. They also continued to cut other athletic resources like their professional development programs and conferences for at least a year. In May of 2020, the Athletics Fiscal Sustainability Working Group released a report about ECU athletics. The report revealed a shocking conclusion. ECU athletics were not financially sustainable. The group had released the report before the COVID-19 pandemic affected the program, so that was not to blame. 44% of the revenue from ECU athletics came from student fees, and enrollment was down in 2018, and at the time it was expected to drop in 2019 and 2020. The football team also struggled with attendance. From 2016 to 2018, ECU football saw their attendance numbers drop in total by over 30,000, with a 12,000 people per game drop to only 32,908 people per game in a 50,000 seat stadium. Yet they chose to expand the stadium. According to the Wall Street Journal, those numbers may have not even been accurate. The report said the school announced that 257,090 total people attended games for an average of 36,000 people per game, but only 125,132 tickets were scanned at the gates, for an average attendance of only 17,000 people per game from the 2017 season. At the time of the construction, the expansion was projected to generate $42 million in new revenue, but updated projections at the time actually believed it would cost ECU $6 million instead of generating more money. Previous athletic director Jeff Comfort, remember I said I was going to talk about him later, resigned after the failed football expansion experiment, and some of his decisions led to the financial hole the school is in. During the shortened 2020 season that saw the attendance be restricted, ECU finished 3-6 and went 3-5 in AAC play, which was a 2-game improvement from 2019. During their home opener against South Carolina, they would have a sellout crowd. They would take a 14-0 lead, but a Holton Allers pick 6 brought the Gamecocks back into the game, and they would lose 20-17. They would proceed to go on a 3-game win streak and later a 4-game win streak to finish the year 7-5 and qualify for their first bowl game since 2014. Their bowl game, the Military Bowl against Boston College, would be canceled due to COVID issues on the Eagles roster. Led by quarterback Holton Allers, ECU would finish the 2022 season with their best record since 2014, going 8-5, with heartbreaking losses to NC State 21-20, Navy 23-20, and Cincinnati 27-25. It would beat Coastal Carolina 53-29 in the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl 53-29, and Aller finished his career with 13,933 passing yards, 97 touchdowns, and 37 interceptions, while also rushing for 1,446 yards and 25 touchdowns on the ground, rewriting the Pirates' record books. The program seemed to be on an upward trajectory from the outside looking in, and seemed to be finally back on track after back-to-back winning seasons. Though, with the departure of Allers and Keaton Mitchell, the Pirates' offense would go from one of the best offenses in the nation to one of the worst. ECU failed to recruit and develop a quarterback to replace Allers. Former four-star recruit Mason Garcia seemed like the future, and they also brought in Taji Hudson and Ryan Stumblefield. Garcia would not qualify for school immediately, but would eventually make it. Hudson would move to wide receiver, and Stumblefield would transfer to Incarnate Word after spending 3 seasons as a backup. Walter Simons III would sign in 2021, but transferred out after 1 year after it became clear he would not be used as a quarterback. They would pass on Byron Brown in 2022 and chose not to sign a quarterback in the class, and in 2023 they signed former West Virginia commit Raheem Jeter. Hoist the Colors wrote last year, without Allers and Flynn, both of whom were Scotty Montgomery recruits, it's fair to wonder how many wins Houston would have right now. They also lost 2 1,000-yard receivers in Isaiah Winstead and CJ Johnson, a pro-caliber tight end in Ryan Jones, and 4 starting offensive linemen. They did not have the NIL funds to reload and also lost a handful of coaches as well. Between the lack of development and major losses in players leaving as well as coaches leaving, it was a perfect storm for ECU to go from a program on the rise to going back to rebuilding with a 2-10 record, which was one of the worst seasons in program history. They even snapped their 26-year streak of avoiding a shutout when they lost to Navy 10-0. Heading into the 2024 season though, ECU brings in former 4-star Michigan State quarterback Caden Hauser, who is competing against Garcia for the starting quarterback job. Whoever wins will lead a fast-paced offense this coming season. Bill Steele projects ECU to finish 5th in the American this coming season. Houston spoke on the offensive improvements, saying, "Offensively, I'm pleased with the progress of meshing together. ECU will look to return to a bowl game this coming season. ECU is one of the most passionate fan bases, and they deserve to find success in the American once again." What do you think? Can ECU return to being a great team? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out one of my other videos YouTube thinks you will love right here. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.